Welcome to Lathe and Loom. My name is Cher. Thanks so much for stopping by the channel. While this is mainly a knitting channel, I do a little spinning, dyeing, and weaving. Today I do have some spinning, which we're going to start with, and I do have a little bit of a natural dye experiment kind of review and update. So share that with you, and then I've got two works in progress, and I have settled on the final pattern for my exploration of summer yarns. So we will get started. Okay, so for my finished objects today, it'll be a little bit different. I don't have any knitting finished objects. I did finish a couple last week, but I do have a spinning finished object. And well, this is tiny. Got some fiber in here. This is the first, I guess we're going to call it a sample skein of my main Tour de Fleece spinning. So if you are not a spinner, I'm sorry, hang in for a few minutes. But I'm not as avid of a spinner as I am a knitter, but I do dabble a little bit. And for Tour de Fleece this year, so if you're not familiar in the spinning fiber world, during the Tour de France cycling race, there are a parallel spinning of fiber going on in the background, and it's quite the big to-do. People do quite a lot of prep, and I had 6 bumps of fiber plus a fleece I was processing. Those are my two things that I wanted to focus on here during really the month of July. I will say that this was mostly spun, and I had to get it off of my other wheel. I have an almost complete bobbin with an almost full bump on it that I'll finish up today, but I have 5 more of those. So I had 6 of this beautiful fiber bump that is what is spinning into this pretty fiber. And this is called, and this, it's funny, some of them they're more, well, yeah, you can see you've got some darker versions. This is I should have brought it, I believe it's Cormofin silk. I'm gonna have to look that up and correct myself. From Heelside Farms, which is a farm here close to me in North Carolina. The link is in the show notes. They do have an online shop. The fiber is absolutely glorious. So I have 6 of these, one almost done, and it's the 15th of July. I think the Tour de France is over half over. I don't know if I'm going to make it. I'll say the first week I did spin every day, which was my goal, but I have not spun quantity. So I'm really now trying to focus on, like, if I could finish a half a ball a day, that would be ideal, and I might be close to getting it done. So what I'm doing is taking about 1/8 of one of these off, and then I'm, attenuating it to get a little looser in it. I mean, I don't know if it's coming through, but this is it's just the softest, silkiest, most fabulous fiber. And the color name, Dragon's Hoard, is very apt because I had dragon sickness the moment I walked into the studio and saw it, and just had to have it. And then I had to have some more. So I should have a sweater's quantity. It will knit up, obviously. I'm spinning a 2-ply. I wasn't sure if I wanted 3-ply or 2-ply, but it plumped up quite nicely. So I will spin it into a 2-ply. I think I'm getting, it's kind of sport DK, so we'll see, how I end up knitting up. I don't know what, but it'll need a relatively plain-ish pattern, I would think, just because of the variegation in the wool. But so this will be, and I'll start posting maybe a little more regularly in the community tab and on Instagram to kind of update my progress. But that is where we are with the Dragon Hoard spin. So I'd mentioned last week that during the month of July we have the North Carolina yarn tour in progress, and you can go to that website to get more information. But one of the events that was held at Heelside Farms was a natural dyeing kind of introduction experimentation class. So Carolyn, the shepherdess and proprietor, and her son James walked us through. There was 5 of us in the course, and we did originally 4 we tried with 4 dyes. So let me show you what we started with. I have to hang in with my other pieces on here. So we had walnut, so that's the skein here. This was walnut husks. We had heart nut, which I had not heard of. 2 o'clock. Which is similar to like a walnut, you know, it's a tree nut. And then we had, we used annatto, which is, you know, you buy it in the spice section. I've cooked with it, particularly some of my Latin American cooking. And then Osage orange. So, of course, I knew walnut could be dyed with. I had heard of that. And I actually brought some, so these are green walnuts. I brought some home. I actually have a pot on the stove simmering to do a batch at home. Day 2 of the walnut soak. I hope you can see. Sadie's highly interested. There's this little, I don't know, it stopped. It was bubbling when I opened it. So it will ferment a little bit, as I understand. So these are just sort of cracked. And I'm going to soak it about 5 days maybe, and then do the dyeing. But just look how pretty this, it's just beautiful. And I had a little bit of dye left. So they had soaked the green walnut. So it's the husk. I guess it has primarily the dye material in it. Walnut has natural tannins, so it does not need to be mordanted. So mordant, very simply, I guess I would convey is what helps the dye attract and stay on the yarn. So walnut does that naturally, so you don't need to use an additional mordant, where with the other ones we use some alum and cream of tartar in the dye pot, so an all-in-one dye pot they call that, instead of doing the yarn separately mordanted and then putting it in the dye pot, so it makes it nice and easy. But then we simmered it for about, so they had warmed it after it had set for about a week, I think they said, and then they had simmered that up, and then we dyed it about 45 minutes and got this beautiful, beautiful, rich color. So then what I did when I came home, I had just a little bit of dye in the cup that was, sitting before I washed it, and I used that as like kind of an exhaust bath, and got this second lighter tan color on some yarn that I had at home. So this is some Highland wool. So really pretty there. I couldn't throw the dye away. So, and then we had the heart nut. So that was similar. This one did use a mordant. So there was alum and cream of tartar in this dye bath. So it's a little similar, much lighter than the walnut, if you will. And then the annatto, I think it's called annatto seed, but it's not really a seed if I understand correctly. And this one can actually be quite yellow. This is just kind of maybe a light creamy yellow. Kind of pretty. So this would be something you could easily get. I mean, I think the whole giant thing is like, $2 or something. So this is probably a really nice entry point if you want to try some natural kitchen dyeing. This one we did use the mordant in the pot. And then this one is probably the one that was the most fascinating to me, is the Osage orange. So I believe I have a photo of a bag that Carolyn had on the table. So I will actually insert a picture here and a couple pictures. When we got in, they had a really nice display of some of the different materials that they had used, some yarns and the things they had dyed with, and she talked to us for, on and off for the few hours we were there about some of the different things that they had dyed with, and just sort of kind of a really nice introduction, but I mean, so knowledgeable. One thing I found very interesting talking about the walnuts is, so of course your water and the pH in your water, so if you have well water versus city water, could be something that affects your dye regardless of what the dye content is. This was well water we were using. Of course I have city water except for in my irrigation system. So that's kind of interesting to play in. I think so they talked about, they had at one point they were doing, I think, a reenactment type thing, and they had a number of folks that came in and brought walnuts from all over the state, and in a controlled setting you still got this variation of dye colors because of where the nuts were grown, right? So even the soil and stuff. So I found that so interesting. But this Osage orange is dyed from the heartwood, so the center of the wood. And I mean, gosh, this color, that's pretty much on camera what I'm seeing. It's this just sort of pale orangey yellow. So pretty. And then I again couldn't throw it away, and this is really pale. It almost on here you don't see any. I get the hintest of a yellow, so there was not really any dye left. I just had a tiny bit in the jar. But Mr. Lathe and Loom is a woodworker, thus the lathe part of the title. You have not seen him on the channel with any woodworking. However, that was originally one of the plans. Does have a nice chunk of this in his studio, so I have asked him to do some turning and get me the shavings of this. So I think I started off saying, here's some of that in the packaging. That's kind of where I went awry with this story. Long story long, or short story long. So anyway, so this was fascinating to me that you got this color from the heartwood. So logwood is like that. That makes a purple. Anyway, so that was quite interesting. We got a few handouts. Let me see. I put on my glasses because I think I wrote down a couple of references. If you're interested, let's see. She had the books Natural Dyeing by Jackie Crook. And then I think Liles, I think that's the author, Art and Craft of Natural Dyeing. And then she had another book, and I actually purchased it when I got home, is Mauve, and it's the story of the Perkins, who's this gentleman here, discovered the color mauve, and it's just it's sort of it says, born of an experimental mishap, this odd shade of purple revolutionized the world of fashion industry and chemical research. And so kind of throughout this whole little study we had, we were just getting these lovely bits of information and history, and I mean, obviously something that you can just, spend years learning about. So some of the reference books that I have, and as I commented, I have some I brought some walnuts and hulls back. So I've been using Jenny Dean's Wild Color, and that has a section on walnut. And then I had picked up a while back this one, Indigo, Madder, and Marigold. Of course I'm going to get upside down. By Van Stralen. I want to see Debbie. No, Trudy Van Stralen. This one's copyright 1993 from Interweave Press. Interestingly, more of the modern texts talk about not boiling, particularly things like madder. And I think you remember I had an episode I did some avocado dyeing, and I boiled the dye bath and got this nice brown instead of the pink that I was looking for. But this is just a really nice text, has some different things. But this one, she actually boils her walnut, so I find it quite interesting. I think there was Osage orange back here. Marigold. Coreopsis. Of course I won't find it. Madder root. I think madder can be quite tricky, whether you get the pinks and the reds or the orange. And then there's things you can use to, to alter it, either altering the pH, cochineal. Anyway, so many things, and I just came back very ready to try things. I have a few things I've ordered. So I have some madder root I got at the Blue Ridge Fiber Festival. Some madder root powder that I'd ordered from Yarn Tree USA, which is in Roanoke, Virginia. Believe they're an Etsy shop. I had some indigo powder. I've been kind of warned, like, don't try that as your first one of your first forays. So I'm going to try to do some of the walnut. And the last, this might be, no, this is, who's the author? Joy Buttrup and Catherine Ellis. The Art and Science of Natural Dyes. So this was recommended to me by another natural dyer. His name is escaping me, and I'm very sorry, but I will put that in the information in the show notes, which is a good point for me to always remember. I never remember to tell you that I put all the detailed information of what I talk about in the show notes, and you can access that by clicking the More button. So then we finished up, that was the planned experiments, and then they had a little jar of kind of a light reddy purple dye that was kind of an experiment. They really weren't sure how it was going to take, and this was Rose of Sharon. So I'll show you here how it looked when we put it on the stove to simmer. This is beautiful kind of crimsony berry color, and then we brought the yarns home, and it looked pretty pink. I washed them. Let's say I waited till the next day. No, I think I took it out and rinsed them that day and let it dry. And then what I got was, I think hopefully another photo here, I got this sort of grayish, pinkish. I thought, oh, well, that's, and we knew it may or may not be a dye that would adhere to it well. And we did put the mordant in. And then so I had texted Carolyn and said, yeah, I mean, I get a little bit. And she said, well, you might, and I still had the dye because I was going to do another bit of a yarn. And she said, you might try rinsing it with some acid. So I actually took that. It was already rinsed and dried. I re-wet it, and I put some citric acid in that rinse water. And then I put some citric acid into the little bit of dye that I had left. And I got this really pretty bright pink color. And then I put the dye in, and this is what I got. Like, isn't that pretty? So, science, y'all. I mean, is that just not intoxicating? It's just so cool. So that was really fun. So then we were kind of puzzled and trying to think about how that was doing. And what I found in And then separately, Carolyn also found was that, I don't know if I can get to the page, that Rose of Sharon, in my book they also call it, I think, Rose Mallow, is related to hibiscus. And that is something that, of course I'm not putting my hands on, I thought it was in this book, and that is something that does die. Of course, if you've ever had hibiscus tea, you would be familiar with that as well. So yeah, I'm not going to be able to find it now that I'm looking for it, of course. But just interesting to see how different things react, and again, what affects. And this is an Osage orange tree here. Some of the colors. So I just think fun to be had, and just experiment here is hardy hibiscus rose mallow. So they actually had a double version. Theirs is a little more purple, so that we got a little more there, but very cool. So that is a little natural dyeing fun for you, and then I will have an update on my my walnut dyeing. Hopefully, I'm gonna try. I think I had about 16 walnuts, in the hull. I put them in a net bag. I cracked them open so a little bit. I let that set about. It was a good week, and then yesterday I simmered it for about an hour-ish or so. I'll do the same thing today, and today I'll add the yarn. So I'm going to use my Chistari 3-ply DK Merino. I am hoping, so I'm winding up 650 gram balls. That may be too much for this pot and this dye, so I may only do 2 of them. But it'd be really nice to have, 600 grams, which I was thinking today. I mean, would that not phenomenal in a sweater? I mean, like in color work, I don't know. So many. I just found it interesting, and I think it's so great how the natural dyes all play so nicely together as well. This one. So anyway, lots of fun to be had there. So moving on to whips, or works in progress. I've got 2 to show today. First I have where I am with the Tulsta tee. This is a pattern by Rebecca Clow, and I am knitting it with Drops Belle, which is one of the recommended yarns. This is a drop shoulder construction. I've talked about it quite a bit on the last couple of episodes. So I am past, I did do, I think you can actually see a little bit of bust shaping here and here, symmetrically. You knit the back to a point, do some sleeve shaping, pick up the sleeve, or pick up the shoulder, knit down, join, and then I've been working in the round, and I don't think I'm going to have enough yarn. I kind of talked about this last episode. I have about 1 1/3 maybe of each. I measured, it's taking me about 12 grams now that I'm in the round. And I put it on today, give a couple of shots here. It's fitting very nicely, so I'm super happy with the fit. I have no idea what the gauge is. Just, you know how I do. But it is fitting nicely, and I did try it on earlier. I think I need 3 to 4 more stripes in the body, and I haven't done the sleeves. And I'm feeling like the sleeves, I think it's every bit of half of the body, and I think they have about 3 stripes each. So I think I'm just going to need to go ahead and get a couple more skeins of yarn. I did notice public service announcement that Linda Hobby has a sale on Drops Belle till the end of July. So I think what I'm going to do now is do the sleeves and see where I end up. I also have not done the neckline, so I don't think I'm going to be able to squeak it out. So I think I'll probably order 2 more balls of each, which is probably more than I need, but the shipping's quite reasonable, but just doesn't make any sense to have to order a third time. So a little more yarn than I thought, but I'm happy with the project, and that's probably more my gauge than the pattern. So, but anyway, it is fitting nicely. You might notice I still have half a gazillion ends to weave in. I've been doing them as I go, but still have those to go back and do. So that is the Lusk by Rebecca Clow. And my other main whip work in progress is the Sabai top, and I'm knitting the Sabai top number 2 version. There's 2 versions in the pattern. So this is the version with all stockinette. There's no ribbing. And I'm knitting it with the Viking Garn bamboo, which, y'all, I love this yarn. I mean, for a plain stockinette pattern, which reason I switched this is I got bored with the Tolstoy and I got to the round and round part. But I have just loved knitting on this. And so I think, I have worked, so you're knitting you do this very interesting cast on, and you kind of do your shoulder increases. So I did that part, and then you get to your knitting the front panel and doing the armhole shaping. It has this beautiful I-cord edge. So when this top is done, it's going to be done, and hardly any ends. Although I will say I switched balls of yarn. It was in the middle of the front. I got about 3 feet into the next ball and I had a knot. So anyway, I had to end up ripping back several rows to undo that fiasco of a mess. Here's a little shot here. Anyway, but I did it. I just thought I was not going to be happy with all that mess on the back. But so now I'm ready to pick up the back. And I did just block this yesterday. And interestingly, I don't usually hang my stuff to block, but I have had a little bit of a learning struggle with the plant fibers. And I wanted to see how it would do in hang. So I'm going to, I have blocked it and it dried like that because I hung it outside on the porch. But I've not checked, but I did check my gauge before blocking. So I want to go calculate that, and then I just want to, I think this will be done really, really fast because it's a pleasure to knit on. So I will say where I'm finding the Drops Belle really splitty. I mean, not like I wouldn't use it again splitty, but you have to watch it, or I'm going down fixing little, I missed a thread here and there because it just annoys me. This has really knit up very, very, very nicely. So I'll give you a close-up of the fabric here. That's kind of a representative color, but it's got this beautiful drape. It just feels, so it's 50-50 bamboo wool. And you might remember, I should have got it, when I did my Harlow flip, I used some Heelside Farms Cormo bamboo. That was 80-20, 80 wool, 20 bamboo. And I just, I love the bamboo. I would like to play around a little bit more and see about, the bamboo fiber in with the wool for, something that gives us a little more kind of year-round flexibility here from, a southern state perspective. But anyway, the pattern's very well written. I'm just finding it a really intoxicating knit, so highly recommend. And there's a lot of projects out there, a lot of different yarns folks have used. So if you're just looking for like that one last quick summer dopamine hit, this might be the one for you. So that is the Sabai top number 2 by Susanne Müller. So I believe that is it. So just a reminder that I'm running the Tees and Tanks Mal still through July and August. And in episode 45, I had a gift away. The winner for that I will put here on the screen. So congratulations, Sylvia. Sylvia is also in the Make Along chat group. And a frequent contributor to comments and supporting the channel. So thank you, and I'm really happy to get with you and get you your pattern giveaway for the month of June. So y'all hang in till the end of July. I'd love to do that again. So we'll be putting some information out probably early August for that gift away. So I think that's all there is today. I appreciate you spending some time with me. I would love to know what you're working on, summer, winter projects. Are you spinning for Tour de Fleece? If you are, I'd love to know how that's going for you. Wish me luck on my 6 giant bumps of fiber. And then I'll let you know a little more next week, and probably have more of a dedicated episode on the dyeing of the walnut or the walnut natural dyeing. So that's a lot of fun. So I'd love to know if you have done some different things with that, how that's worked for you, maybe questions that you might have. I am totally a novice, so everything I'm kind of learning, some through others and a lot through experiment. But it's just fun to a little creative outlet. So look forward to doing more of that in the future. And that I will say bye, y'all. Happy knitting, spinning, dyeing, and weaving.